Welcome to The Next Chapter, a show about how to move your life forward and what comes next. I'm your host, Carrie Pena. Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Pena, and this is the Next Chapter podcast. I want to welcome to the studio today Chef Will Wagner, here to speak publicly about your story for the first time. I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You have an incredible story, and it's difficult. It's a difficult one to tell. You were in our studio a few months back with the actor Colin Egglesfield, who you are his chef, and you also have taken some of his courses. And I want to just set the stage for the audience, because I like to be super transparent, that after I interviewed Colin, who's a very famous person, such a nice man, you and I spoke privately, and you talked about your own journey and that you have an explosive sort of story of how you got to your next chapter. So that's how we ended up reaching out to you and saying, do you want to share this? So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
One of the things we're going to be talking about is how you've come to an understanding of the connection between food and mental health. And you've had a mental health journey that brought you really to the brink of wanting to take your own life. Can you set the stage for the audience? Where were you working at the time? What was your life like when you started to hit that rock bottom?
I was overweight and lost, miserable. I have a servant's heart. So I've always put other people's needs before my own. And that came to a head about 4 years ago. And I didn't really understand that what I was doing to my body was breaking down. It was literally destroying my mental health. I could drink a case and a half of Diet Coke a day, and going from there, I mean, that's all I did. As I ate, I'm an emotional eater. So when I get depressed, I eat. And I don't eat necessarily good food. Mm-hmm. It's the chips, it's the French fries, it's the pizza, it's the burgers. But what we don't realize is all of that stuff, yes, it's good and it's okay every once in a while, but it plays havoc on your emotional health just because of all the pesticides and the hormones that we put into it. I get it. We need to feed the world. I get it. But at some point, I had to look at what I was doing to my body wasn't helping my body. Yes, I was feeding myself, but I was destroying my mental health.
Can you talk? And again, I always tell our guests, because to me, everyone who comes on the show is like family, and I never want you to feel uncomfortable, but can you talk to the extent that you're comfortable about what was causing you to feel so depressed and why you were in that place?
I wasn't heard. Nobody heard me. Nobody's seen me. I was the guy that everybody came to fix their problems. But when it came down to my problems and actually literally talking out what was going on in my head, it was not nowhere near what it should be. It was very non-existent.
So you were experiencing severe loneliness?
Yes. And, my family is virtually non-existent. I never had a very strong connection to them. And that led to, why am I here? And
so how bad did that get?
I came home from work one night, sat on the edge of my bed with a knife in my hand, ready to go. Couldn't take it anymore. I'm a big believer when you ask for something, if it's meant for you, it comes. And I literally sat there crying, and I'm like, I need a sign. God, universe, whatever it is, whoever you are, if you want me to do something, if my life was meant to be something, I need a sign that it's going to be okay. And I got it. I was scrolling Instagram just because I look for signs everywhere. Social media, outside, you name it. And Colin's posting came up. And I listened to it and read the post, and something triggered my mind to ask a question. And surprisingly enough, he answered. And he said, join my Inspire course. And I did. Came with a 30-minute coaching call. And the man gave me the first single greatest gift of my life. He listened, said nothing. He sat there and let me throw up everything that was going on in my brain. It was the best thing that ever happened. And the amount of emotional release that I got from that was just like the heavens opening up and the sun came out. There was hope at the light, at the end of that tunnel.
Wow. I mean, that's incredibly profound that you saw this post and that he answered. And so you felt heard in that moment,
yes.
Recognized.
My emotional stance was, okay, let's follow this a little bit, see what's going on. You know, as a man, we're not raised to voice our pains and our feelings and our emotional, what's going on in our heads. We're just not. It's just not who we are as men. And I'm the type that I wanted to just get it out. I had to get it out because it's like, okay, so now you've shown me that there is purpose for me. So what is that purpose? And the first step was, okay, so let's get out what you're feeling and let's go from there. And when that happened, when I was done, he goes, okay, you done? He goes, do you feel better? I'm like, yes. And he goes, okay, so now we're going to start. You ready? And it's going to be uncomfortable for you because you're not used to this. So we started.
What did that process look like? And part of that is how you now are speaking more about this mental health and food connection. So let's talk about that process. When he said, let's start, what did you do? Because you were in the depths and you described this period of feeling so alone, overweight. That's not easy to just, snap your fingers and start changing everything.
And he goes, write it out. Write everything that's going on, every thought in your mind, or put it on paper. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is, get it out. Let's put it on paper and let's see what it looks like. So I did. And after the whole process was done, okay, he says, burn it. Burn it. And I burned it. And it's like, ooh, okay. This isn't so bad. And it required me to get very vulnerable. It required me to look what's going on inside, how I was talking to myself, how I was treating myself. It forced me to take a very hard look at what I was doing to myself, me. Not everybody else, not the world, not food, not anybody, but what I was doing to myself.
So what Colin was teaching you was accountability.
Yes. We don't like to admit that when we're wrong. We don't like to admit that, yeah, we screwed it up and go forward, but take accountability for how you're talking to yourself and how you're treating yourself. If you keep calling yourself a stupid idiot, well, what's your brain going to believe? Your monkey brain's going to kick in, and every time you screw up, that's what the monkey brain's going to make you do.
What did you do from the standpoint of fixing your day-to-day habits and your relationship with food?
When I was diagnosed as a diabetic, I had to take a very strong look at what I was putting into my body. And I was being quiet about it and playing small. And Colin was like, what the F are you doing? Basically, he goes, stop playing small. This is a big deal. Look at what you're doing. Look how you're cooking. Look how you're, I've been cooking for 38 years, and when you cook bacons and sausages and gravies and things like that, and you're consuming it, well, okay, it's a wonder why you're feeling the way you are and why you're 400 pounds and severely overweight and depressed. Okay, so put some fresh fruit, put some fresh vegetables. And then I started reaching out to my fellow chefs and cooks. I'm like, what are we going to do? Let's go. Let's start cooking a little bit more healthier. Let's use some olive oils instead of butters. Let's use some fresh fruit instead of a stuffed bread or something. So yeah, I mean, it was just taking a very hard look. And I spent 3 hours at the grocery store one day reading labels of everything that I was putting into my body.
Wow.
And some of it I couldn't even pronounce. And I'm even looking it up on Google and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
We don't realize, all these different colorings and food additives that we're putting in.
So how much weight did you lose? You lost a couple hundred pounds?
I lost 208 pounds. 88 pounds of that was when I stopped drinking soda. Diet soda at that.
So let's talk about how you started to feel better when you really, because it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
So you start to make these changes. Colin's holding you accountable. You're holding yourself accountable. Describe to me what did it feel like for you from a mental health standpoint when, wow, I am losing weight. My perspective is changing. What did that feel like?
When you're excited to get out of bed in the morning, and you get out of bed and it's like, okay, you're not reaching for that Diet Coke, you're reaching for that glass of water.
Mm.
Yeah. And then you're looking at yourself in the mirror and I'm like, all right, this is possible. The clothes are fitting a little
I look pretty good.
Yeah, the clothes are fitting a little better. And, I'm like, okay, people are starting to notice. And it broke my heart because it's like, some overweight people can't help it. They're just overweight. It's in our genes. But the way we treat that in society is wrong. Just because I'm overweight doesn't mean I have nothing valuable to add to society. And that's truly how I felt. I had nothing valuable to add. And it's like when I started losing weight, everybody that I worked with was like, who are you? What have you done with Will? I mean, my sous chefs would stick tasting spoons in my coat every morning because I tasted everything that went in my kitchen. Okay, well, that stopped. I had to trust that my people were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and I had to trust myself. It's okay. When you're upset, you don't need to pick up that cheeseburger. You don't need to open that bag of potato chips or eat that order of French fries. It's okay.
So when you talk today about the fact that you were sitting, in your place, considering taking your own life, and it's really profound. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of work in the suicide prevention space. September is National Suicide Prevention Month. What message do you want to send to the audience? It was brave of you to share the story. You haven't shared it publicly. What do you want to send to the audience about this?
It's okay. You're not alone. People will listen if you start talking. You got to surround yourself with authentic people that want good for you. You got to support each other. We got to love each other. You can't just keep going through the motions and expect the greatest outcome because that's not going to work. You got to put forth the effort in yourself to want it. You got to be able to stand on a chair in the middle of a public space and say, I need help. You can't just keep going forward and expect it to come because nobody's coming to save you. Nobody was coming to save me. I had to save myself. Yes, Colin gave me the tools, but I did the work.
That's right.
I did the work. I owe the man everything. I will never be able to pay that gift he gave me. And that's why I move heaven and earth when the people in my community need help. They need people to listen to them because we all need people to listen in our lives. So if anybody out there that's watching this needs somebody to listen, DM me on Instagram. Find me on social media. I'll listen. I'm a great listener. We have to be. We have to start listening to one another. 64% of suicides are men. Why? I ask myself that question. Why? What is going on that brings us to this point? And it's sad that somebody famous has to die in order to get attention. It's like, where was this all along? But it's been there. It's just something that we don't talk about as a society.
Is this why you wanted to start, publicizing this? I mean, life is such a beautiful, I just think life is so precious. And you're just this beautiful man sitting here who a few years back is describing not wanting to live another day. That is so sad to me.
We just got to start talking. We can't stay in our heads. We can't just sit there and pretend that everything is good when it's not. It's okay not to be good. It's okay to struggle. Even now, I've done all this work. Life isn't grand. You got struggles. I didn't sleep a wink last night because it's like I'm nervous. This is the first time that I've actually told this story to the general public. And I'm hoping that it sparks a conversation with at least one person.
Mm. Thank you for being here and for your bravery in sharing the story and giving people hope about the next chapter. What is your next chapter?
I want to, my goal in life is to open a farm, open a restaurant, do a farm-to-table restaurant, but I want to make good, nutritious food less expensive for the average person to buy. Nobody should have to walk in and worry about, do I have enough money to put vegetables on my table? I want them to be able to do that. I want to grow the vegetables. I want to take them to market. I want to help people raise the awareness. Let's start with our children. That's where it begins, because you teach them to do it, and then they're going to continue to do it. And opening up a restaurant and teaching people how to pick wisely on a menu and showing them that great things can come from the most unusual sources.
Mm. Will you invite me to your restaurant, Chef
Absolutely.
Will? Because it sounds really good. I love a good farm-to-table restaurant. Thank you again so much for being here. And bravo also to Colin. I mean, such a cool guy. But like you said, he put you in the position, but you did the work.
Correct.
And we really appreciate you. And I do hope that your story helps to inspire others. I know that it will. Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, Chef Will Wagner, or Chef Will W, and also on Facebook, Will Wagner.
Thank you so much, Will. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. I'm Carrie Pena. This is The Next Chapter.